Millionaire married dirty street vendor for a bet. But what he discovers on their wedding night shock him. Under Seattle's rainy skyline, Jasper Holt made a bet that'd change everything. Marry a stranger from the streets for 3 months. She's got nothing but a soggy sandwich and a glare that could melt steel. He's got a mansion and an ego bigger than his bank account. One problem: they've met before, and she hates his guts. What's coming next? You won't believe it. Jasper Jazz Holt lounged against the slick glass railing of his ritzy Seattle penthouse, the kind of place that screamed money with its floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city's twinkling lights. A fine drizzle misted the air, smudging the Space Needle's outline in the distance. But Jasper didn't care. He was too busy soaking in his own greatness. At 32, he was the kingpin of Holt Tech, a tech giant that churned out apps and gadgets like a factory on steroids. Cold as a winter storm and cocky as hell, he figured the world fit snugly in his back pocket. Inside, the party was in full swing. Tech bros in razor-sharp suits swapped stories of million-dollar contracts. Women in stilettos clinked champagne flutes, their laughter cutting through the soft patter of rain on the glass. Jasper smirked, swirling the whiskey in his glass, the amber liquid catching the light. He turned to Dylan Reed, his old college buddy who'd been hovering nearby like a buzzard circling roadkill. Money buys everything, bro. Name it, I've got it locked down. Dylan, tie half undone, hair a scruffy mess from too many beers, flashed a sleazy grin and took a sloppy gulp from his bottle. Oh, yeah? Put your cash where your mouth is. I bet you $3 million you can't snag some homeless chick off the street, slap a ring on her, and polish her up into a high society dame in 3 months. Jasper arched an eyebrow, the challenge lighting a spark in his steely eyes. He leaned closer, the ice in his drink clinking faintly. $3 million? That's chump change. You're on. Easiest bet I've ever taken. He downed a swig of whiskey, the cold bite sharpening his grin. So, who's the lucky lady? Point her out. Dylan jabbed a finger toward the window, past the hazy curtain of rain. Her. Down there, man. Jasper leaned over the railing, squinting through the drizzle at the alley below. A girl was digging through a dumpster. Barefoot, toes caked with grime, jeans ripped to shreds, brown hair a wild tangle whipping in the wind. She yanked out a soggy sandwich, muttering under her breath like it had personally offended her, then glanced up. The streetlight caught her green eyes, and damn, they flared like a matchstick, sharp and defiant, cutting through the gloom. There's your bride, Dylan snorted, smacking Jasper's shoulder hard enough to slosh his drink. You in or what? Jasper's smirk widened, that signature half grin of a guy who'd never lost a game in his life. Oh, I'm in, done and dusted. 10 minutes later, he was down in the alley, Italian loafers sidestepping puddles, cashmere coat flapping like some high-end cape in the damp breeze. She didn't clock him until he cleared his throat, a little sharper than intended. Hey, you there? She froze mid-bite, clutching the sandwich like he was about to swipe it, and shot him a glare that raked him from head to toe. What? Gonna narc me out to the cops for grabbing a bite? Her voice was gravelly, dripping with mockery. But those eyes, Jesus, they burned like a wildfire ready to torch him. I'm Jasper Holt, he said, straightening up, radiating that rich guy swagger. Got a deal for you. Marry me for 3 months, fake it till we make it. You score $1 million, food, clothes, a real bed. You game? Tessa. Tess. Malone blinked, then let out a harsh barking laugh, dry and rough like he'd just told the lamest joke on the planet. You're off your rocker, rich boy. What's the scam? Selling my kidneys? Jasper smirked, cool as ever. No scam, straight business. Hop in the car, I'll break it down. She narrowed her eyes, stomach growling loud enough to rival the rain. Fine, but if you're a perv, I'm out of here. Fair deal, he nodded, flicking a hand. A glossy black SUV rolled up, door swinging wide. Get in. Tessa hesitated, sizing him up one last time, then climbed in, grumbling, If I end up dead, I'm haunting your ass forever. Jasper slid in beside her, firing off a text to Dylan. Game on. Tessa Malone's first day in Jasper Holt's gleaming glass mansion was a hot mess, plain and simple. She stumbled in, barefoot and still muddy from the alley, and immediately tripped over the fluffy white rug in the foyer, face-planting, smacking the glass coffee table, and sending an expensive porcelain vase crashing to the floor. Crash! Shards flew everywhere, and she looked up, hair a tangled curtain over her face, staring at the wreckage like it had just cussed her out. Whoops! That worth more than me, or what? Jasper, a few steps away in a sharp gray suit, pinched his forehead and sighed like he might pass out. Malone, can you not touch anything else? Please, I'm begging you. He didn't let her off easy. Next morning, a squad rolled into the mansion, a wild-haired stylist wielding scissors, an etiquette coach with a fat notebook, and some older lady with a wooden ruler teaching her how to walk like a lady. Tessa hated every second. At her first dress fitting, they stuffed her into a shiny green silk gown, and she thrashed like a fish on a hook. "I'm not your damn doll," she snapped, ripping it off, tossing it to the floor, and yanking on her ratty old sweater that still smelled like street rain. Jasper, leaning on the doorway, watching the chaos, rubbed his temples. "You're killing me, Tess. Actually killing me." But his eyes flickered with something. Not anger, more like amusement. Things got weirder over time. Tessa wouldn't stay put in the gilded cage Jasper had set up. She'd sneak into the kitchen, a sleek, modern space he'd never touched, rifling through the fridge, pulling out leftovers from his takeout dinners. With quick hands, she whipped up sloppy Joe sandwiches, greasy, dripping with sauce, so good they'd make you forget fancy restaurants. "Try it." She shoved a plate at Jasper one night while he lounged on the sofa with a whiskey. He grimaced, eyeing it like it might explode. "You sure this isn't trash?" But he took a bite, chewed slow, and muttered, "Not bad." Tessa smirked, proud like a kid showing off a drawing. Once, she clumsily splattered ketchup on his fancy silk tie. "Oh, crap! Sorry!" she yelped, scrubbing it with her sweater sleeve, smearing it worse. Jasper glared, that "I could strangle you" look, but then he laughed, a dry, rusty sound, like he'd forgotten how. "You're a walking disaster," he said, but didn't yank the tie away, just stood there letting her keep wiping. Tessa blushed, mumbling, "You were standing too close." He didn't reply, just smirked, his gray eyes lingering on her longer than usual. Then, one night, Tessa sprawled across his glossy leather sofa, clutching a bag of chips she'd smuggled from the streets, muttering to herself. "Mom died when I was 16. Cancer. Dad split right after. Didn't even look back. Been on my own since. Dumpster diving, sleeping under bridges, just surviving, you know." Jasper, pouring whiskey at the minibar, froze. He turned, glass tilting in his hand, voice low. "Rough deal." He didn't say more, but the way he looked at her, not as cold as day one, felt off to her. She shrugged, munching chips. "What about you? Rich life must be sweet, huh?" He went quiet, sipped his drink, and turned away. "Not really." Tessa squinted, but let it drop. The chaos hit its peak one rainy afternoon. Tessa decided to show off her cooking skills. No more leftovers this time. She fired up Jasper's fancy gas stove, dumped oil in a pan, then forgot all about it, wandering off to grab salt from a far cabinet. Whoosh! Flames shot up like fireworks, black smoke billowing. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" she screamed, darting around, snatching a dish towel and chucking it at the fire, making it worse. Jasper, mid-Zoom call in the next room, bolted out at her yells, sleeves rolled, face pale. "What the hell are you doing?" He ripped the fire extinguisher off the wall, blasting foam everywhere, stove, pan, Tessa, all coated. When the flames died, they stood in the wreckage, her soaked, hair-dripping foam, his pristine shirt now a white splattered mess. "You're a hazard," he barked, hands on hips, panting. Tessa, ghostly pale, mumbled, "I just wanted to fry something." Jasper glared, ready to chew her out, but then he burst out laughing, big, easy, echoing through the trashed kitchen. He leaned on the counter, clutching his stomach, gasping. "You gonna burn my house down for real, Malone? Jesus, I've never met anyone this nuts." Tessa, sheepish, laughed too, wiping foam off her face. "Worth a story, right?" He shook his head, still chuckling. "Hell yeah, it is." He didn't say it, but he loved the mess she brought. Tessa wasn't polished or fake, just herself, clumsy, honest, and so alive it made his cold heart thump a little. One night after, as she dozed off on the sofa in that beat-up sweater, Jasper watched her from across the room, whiskey gone cold in his hand. He muttered to himself, "You're in trouble, Jas." For the first time ever, he didn't mind. 2 months had passed since Tessa crashed into Jasper Holt's life, and his gleaming glass mansion was now a map of her chaos. Ketchup stains on the sofa, forgotten sandwiches in the fridge, even the faint whiff of burnt kitchen still lingering. Jasper kept up his icy front, but every time Tessa spilled something or went toe-to-toe with him, the corner of his mouth twitched like he was fighting a grin. He wouldn't admit it, but she was chipping away at him bit by bit. Then, one rainy Seattle night, it all blew up. Jasper left his laptop on the living room table, a rare, dumb move for a guy who controlled everything. Tessa, curious as a street cat, plopped down and started poking around. She clicked into his inbox, and an email from Dylan Reed popped up. "How's the bet going, Jazz?" "3 mil says that chick cracks before you. Don't let her win." Her stomach dropped like she'd fallen off a skyscraper. Shaking, she scrolled more, and an older email hit her like a punch. Holt Tech rejection, 3 years back. She remembered. 19 years old, nervous in a ratty thrift store coat, pitching her street food idea. Jasper, behind his desk, cut her off cold. "We don't hire charity cases. Get out." That day broke her, shoving her from a tiny dream straight to rock bottom. She shot up, hands trembling, eyes red, just as Jasper walked in with a coffee mug. "What's this?" she snarled, shoving the laptop at him, voice choking like she might sob. His face froze, the mug nearly slipping. "Tess, a bet? I'm your damn game?" she yelled, tears spilling over. "And you're the bastard who wrecked my life. Humiliating me wasn't enough. Now you pull this?" Jasper raised a hand to explain, but she bolted, grabbing her tattered backpack from day one, and ran out into the Seattle downpour. "Tess, wait!" he shouted, but she didn't look back, barefoot splashing through puddles, vanishing into the dark. She wandered in the rain, no clue where to go, just needing to escape him, that fake-ass mansion. Water soaked her sweater, chilling her to the bone, but she didn't stop. Her head spun, him laughing with her, those sandwiches, the clumsy hug after the kitchen fire, all fake, all a lie. She collapsed near an old bus stop, legs giving out, fever burning her up, vision blurring. "You're so stupid, Tess," she muttered, slumping against the bench, tears mixing with rain. Meanwhile, Jasper lost it. He tore out of the house, jumped into his glossy black SUV, and sped through Seattle, headlights slicing every corner, gut twisting like a knot. He didn't get why he was freaking out. Over the bet, the 3 million, or her. He floored it through alleys, rain smashing the windshield, until he spotted her, crumpled on the bench, hair plastered to her face, shivering hard. "Tess!" He leapt out, scooped her up, her weak fists thumping his chest. "Let me," she mumbled, fading before she finished. He raced back to the mansion, heart heavy as hell. She woke on his familiar sofa, wrapped in a thick blanket, dim lamplight glowing on Jasper's face. He sat nearby, holding a pot that reeked of burnt disaster. "Soup," he mumbled, sheepish. "Tried. Half of it's toast." Tessa glared, voice raspy. "Get lost." He didn't budge. "I killed the bet. Weeks ago. I'm sorry. For everything." Back then, I was a jackass. Didn't remember you, didn't care about anyone. Now I know I screwed up. She turned away, tears rolling down. You don't get it. You ruined me, then played nice? I hate you. Jasper went quiet, head down, hands gripping the chair's edge. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm not going anywhere. He stood, set the charred pot on the table, and slipped out. Tessa lay there, clutching the blanket, heart aching. She wanted to believe him, but that email, that icy voice from the past, stabbed her like a knife. Outside, rain kept falling, tapping the glass like it had something to say she didn't want to hear. After that fateful rainy night, Jasper Holt didn't give up. The next morning, while Tessa was still curled up on the sofa, eyes puffy from crying, she heard an odd rumble outside. She dragged herself to the window, yanked the blinds, and nearly fell over. A beat-up food truck, splashed with a sloppy Tessa's Tacos, scrawled in paint, sat parked right in front of Jasper's sleek glass mansion. He stood there, keys dangling, shirt sleeves rolled up, staring at her through the window. Your dream, he said, tossing the keys her way. Tessa caught them, jaw dropping. What the hell's this? You said you wanted to sell street food, help the poor. I made it real. No strings. She froze, clutching the keys, her heart a tangled mess. Why'd you do it? Jasper shrugged, voice low. Because you're worth more than a bet. Because I was an idiot not to see it sooner. Tessa turned away, silent. But that truck just sat there, like an apology he couldn't voice. They started small. Jasper drove, Tessa cooked, hot, greasy tacos handed out free to Seattle's homeless. At first, she glared daggers every time he spilled sauce or stacked boxes crooked, but she got used to it. You suck at this, she'd tease, elbowing him as he hauled veggie crates. Learning, he'd grin, wiping sweat with his sleeve, no trace of the slick CEO left. They bickered non-stop, but laughter slipped in, soft as the drizzle outside. One night, the truck empty, rain pounded hard. Tessa was wiping the counter, slipped on the wet floor. Jasper caught her, hands on her waist, faces inches apart. Her breath hitched, green eyes meeting his gray. No words, just the rain drumming the roof. He leaned in, kissed her. Soft at first, then fierce, like everything burst open. She kissed back, gripping his shoulders, the smell of tacos and rain mixing. When they pulled apart, he whispered, No bets, just us. She smiled, eyes wet. You're crazy. Weeks later, under Seattle's misty rain, Jasper knelt by the truck, holding a simple ring he'd bought himself. Nothing fancy, just real. Marry me, Tess, for real. No games, no contracts, just because I love you. She stood there, sweater soaked, laughing through tears. You're still nuts. Yeah, I love you too. He slid the ring on, stood, and hugged her tight, rain falling around them like witnesses. Thanks for not ditching me, she murmured, face pressed to his chest. Jasper held her closer, voice rough. Never. Under the truck's dim glow, they knew this love wasn't flashy, but it was true, and nothing could break it. Tessa and Jasper's wedding was a glorious mess. The Tessa's Tacos truck sat smack in the middle of his mansion's yard, Tessa rocking a thrift store white dress with ketchup stains from a pre-ceremony snack fail. Jasper ditched the suit for jeans and a button-up, cracking up when she dropped the ring and fumbled to grab it from the dirt. Classic Tess, he grinned, pulling her in for a kiss as homeless buddies and Holt Tech staff cheered. Seattle's drizzle pattered down, but nobody cared. A year later, Finn arrived, red-faced, screaming his lungs out, perfect. They turned Jasper's sterile glass mansion into a real home, taco trucks rolling out to feed the needy, walls plastered with Tessa's sloppy sketches. One night, with Finn snoozing in his crib, Jasper tugged Tessa onto the porch, wrapping his arms around her. You wrecked my life, Malone, he murmured, voice soft. She spun around, smirking through teary eyes. Good. You needed it. Rain tapped the roof. Finn stirred in his sleep. And they knew, from that rainy alley day, they'd found each other, for real. So what's your verdict on Jasper and Tessa's taco-flinging, rain-soaked love fest? Spill your thoughts in the comments. Rate this wild ride from 0 to 10 greasy tacos. Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss more messy, heart-pounding stories. Hungry for extra helpings of romance, tech, and a sprinkle of disaster? Click the end screen right here for tales that'll hit you harder than a ketchup-stained sweater and warm your soul faster than a fresh batch of Seattle street tacos.